Right, perfect. So excellent. Well, welcome to the webinar today. Once again, my name is Jeff Oaks with dTools Software, and I'll be giving you the personal tour today. So for anyone that's not familiar with dTools, just give you a quick introduction before we dive into the software. dTools, we've been in business now for about 19 years, and we focus strictly on the low voltage industry. And that really includes a lot of different things. That's going to be things like AV, security, surveillance, access control, networking, even some lighting and some light electrical as well too. We dabble in as well. And so with dTools, we integrate the process by tying together three areas of the process together. One of those is estimation and doing proposals and quotes. The second one is doing drawings, so we can actually do drag and drop drawings within AutoCAD and Visio, and we can integrate those two platforms together. One really nice benefit of dTools is you can actually start with the drawing if you want to. So we can simply lay items out on a floor plan, build a rack, do a wiring diagram, and as we build the drawing, it actually creates our bill of materials or our quote for us at the same time. And then lastly, we jump into the scheduling and project management side of things. So once the project's been scheduled or has been built, you can schedule the project out for installation. So we can do installs, we can manage service work as well too. And we do have a mobile tool where you can track progress out in the field from your technicians and get feedback from the field, things like actual hours, job site photos, signatures, everything's being captured from the install team and feeds back to the program. So those are really the three main areas that we're going to focus on today. I'm going to show you how we tie together the estimation, design, and installation together, and go ahead and dive in. So good place to start when talking about dTools is talk about the database. So your first major step, let's say if you're new to the software, you're wanting to jump in and start using it, first thing you want to do is get some products in to the system. So one of the things that we do provide is a huge product library here. Just go open that up. And this is going to give you access to all the brands and product lines that we built. So currently we have over 1,800 brands inside of our library. It's a combination of manufacturers that are putting their data in and helping us keep things up to date, as well as we're also managing and updating product lines ourselves as well too internally. Give you an idea on how much data is being turned around. On average, we're usually adding anywhere from 1 to 5,000 products per week. So a lot of stuff's really happening daily here inside the library. So just simply go through the list, pick the brands and product lines you work with, and once you download those items from our library, those are going to get put into your personal catalog. That'll be your database just for your company. So let's go venture over to the catalog. Let's go take a look at a product here. I'm going to show you what kind of information we're tracking here inside of our database. So the basic stuff you'd expect is here: manufacturer, model, category. We can also track products by system. So if you want to, later on as you build your project, be able to show the pricing and numbers and equipment by system, we can do that. Also, of course, in images there. Images can be used a few different ways. We can use them for simple one-line drawings. We can also use them on the proposal or quote itself as well too, include the images there. We're also too on the description side. We do track a short description as well as a long description. And these descriptions here, you can always edit them if you want to, but we do give you a starting point with that. You've got your price tab here, so this is where your pricing information will be stored. Now when you download it from our library, we're not going to be providing the dealer cost automatically, so you would need to get your pricing into the system. There's a few ways of doing that though that makes it a lot easier than just doing manual entry. We can do an Excel price sheet import. We can also set pricing based off what's called price rules. A price rule allows me to say, you know what, for this vendor or this brand, my cost is a flat 30 or 40% off the list. So you can do some quick math there if you want to. And of course, you can always enter in your pricing directly here as well. And margin markup will calculate automatically. And if you do have different tiers or different types of customers, you want to use the price tiers here, you can actually do up to 12 levels of pricing. Call those price types. You can call those whatever you want, and it allows you to store different sell prices inside the system. Now, when it comes to pricing, the equipment is pretty straightforward, but another big part of pricing is labor. And this is one of the challenges that we found that a lot of integrators have is when it comes to doing labor, it's really hard to get that dialed in and get it consistent across all your projects. So one of the things we've done to help make that process easier is we provide industry standard labor times on all the parts. So when you download it from us, you have a time assigned to it. You, of course, can always change that if you want to. But what we do is we take that number of hours there and we multiply that by your labor rate. So by adding this into a project, it will not only calculate my equipment charges, it can also factor out labor, and it can also, of course, calculate out tax. And in your labor, you can also, too, even account for other types of labor other than install. So things like management design can also be built in. That time also comes in handy for the installation side of things, which we'll see later on. And on the phase side too, you can see we do track install phases, which once again can help out in several areas, things like product ordering and installation as well. Now under our order tab, we are going to track the basic details like vendor name. You can also track order quantities. So for things like cable, you know, add 2,700 feet of cable into a project, this will just do the number crunching for you, so you know how many boxes of cable you need to order. We're also tracking your dimensions. Now, the reason we care about that is because of the drawing side of things. So when you're building something, let's say like an equipment rack, or you're dragging something on a drawing page and you want to make sure it fits properly, this ensures that everything's to scale, so it's accurate. As well as your IOs are here. This is for doing wiring diagrams. So you can simply drag and drop your parts out, make your cable connections. And what's really nice is this actually gives us some really good installation tools for this. Based off the drawing, we're going to get a wire checklist. We're going to get wire numbers auto-created, and it even creates all your wire labels for you too. So that's hours of labor right there eliminated and also automated too in this process. We also have the option of adding accessories. So what an accessory is, it's just basically any additional products that you may typically need with the item. So maybe a power supply, rack kit, mount. You can have that linked up. So every time you add that into a project, you'll get that reminder or prompt along the way. That's a pretty big deal because I think everyone at some point has, you know, jumped into a project, put it together, realized afterwards, oops, I forgot this or forgot that. So helps eliminate those mistakes and also avoid those delays due to that. A feature called alternates is also a nice feature from a proposal standpoint. What alternates allows you to do is actually store alternative products in the database. Now, why that's important is this allows me to show the customer upgrade options. I can show them the price difference from going from one model to the next. Something very simple to use as an example would be a TV. If I want to show the price difference between a 70 and an 80 inch, we can certainly do that on the quote without having to do two separate documents. So that's a little bit on the database side of things. Just want to show you what we're tracking, but also explain why we track it and how that affects things here inside the software. So that's a little bit on the database side of things. What we'll do now is let's go build a project and show you how all this stuff comes together. Now you can also too in the database, you can pre-build some systems or packages as well. So if you want to pre-build anything you find yourself selling frequently, there's no need to recreate the wheel. You can save it as an assembly in here. So let's go create a project. So we're going to go up here to the project section. We're going to click on new, and this will open it up. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start by putting in some basic details for this project. So we're going to go do a client name here. So I'm going to choose one. And I'm going to call this, we're going to call this Webinar PM for our project name. Now there's some other optional things we can set up here. We can say what stage we're at in this process. You can of course edit these if you want to. Start and end dates can be set. You can also choose the price tier or price type you want to use for that project. Of course, other options here. Now beyond the client, there may be some other contacts you want to add in here. So you can easily do that through our contact database or other programs like Outlook. So other contacts could be other trades like architects, general contractors, electricians. You can add them in there. We also have our site address, billing address. We also have a thing called price rules. Now we saw price rules earlier on the products. Now you can also use these on a project level. So let's say if I want to sell everything on this job at cost plus 20%, I can just simply come in here and say, all right, let's base it off my cost to add 20%. So it really effectively becomes a price override and just kind of allows us to do a quick formula for a particular project we're working on. You don't have to do that though, by the way. Also tax rates can be set, so you can choose those here. Also, now if I've got anybody else within my company that's going to be working on the project, I can go through and assign and tag those people here. So this also keeps things organized, but it also can be important for permission rights. You can also restrict users as well to the projects based on this information. You've got your scope of work. So this is your written description of what's included or not included in the project. To make it go a little faster, we have a feature called snippets where we can go through and select a few different systems here. And this drops in my templates for those. So it's all about just, once again, speeding things up, having things you do frequently in here so you're not having to redo the same work over and over again. We also have the ability to add locations. Now, the reason we do this is so we can break down all your pricing and equipment by room from a proposal or presentation standpoint. It's also very helpful all the way down to the installation, so things like work orders and service tickets. It's good to know where things are at. So everything, including your labels as well too, can include this location information. So let's go jump in. Let's go create a location here. So I'm going to go in, let's say, all right, we're going to put in maybe a closet, a conference room, entryway, hallway. Let's go toss a couple rooms in here. Now you can get a lot more detail than I am. If you want to put in building names and floor names, you can really create a whole tiered hierarchy in here. What I also like is I can go even below the room level and say, you know what, in this room we're going to go ahead and add in a rack 1 and 2. So now we can break it down even to a rack or panel level, and we can also get other things too, like rack load reports. So if you want to know how much the rack weighs, how much power heat it's pulling, you can get that data there as well. Also, we've got some additional information here for systems. Now, we can define any systems we're going to be selling here. So let's go slide through the list here, pick a few different options. There we go. All right. Reason we track that, this really helps you with, once again, breaking down the equipment by systems and things like numbers and budgets and stuff too, which I'll show you in a few minutes. Also, we've got our payment schedule. So we will generate a contract within the software with your payment terms. You can go in here and set whatever terms you want here. And once again, if this is something you don't know or want to set right now, you can always skip over any of the stuff here and jump back into it later to edit it. And lastly is custom fields. So this gives you a place where you can track any additional information that you may need. You can always rename these fields for anything else that you may want. So I'll put in things like Wi-Fi password. You can also put in a gate code. And this can also be shared with technicians out in the field for doing an installation. So let's go ahead and save what we've done here. Let's go ahead and jump into our project. Now with D-Tools, there's really two ways of building a project. You can actually start with your bill of materials or your quote or your estimate first, whatever term you want to use for it. You can start with the list, and then later we can drag and drop from that list into AutoCAD or Visio to produce our drawings. Now, another powerful way of doing this is doing the drawing first. So if you're a visual person or like to design things first, you can literally start dragging things out, dropping it on a drawing page, laying it out the way you want to, and everything you add to that drawing, the equipment, labor, tax, everything's being calculated as you go. So really have two routes to go with that. Now, we found that most of our customers typically do it both ways. Sometimes they'll start with a drawing, sometimes they'll just do a quote, sometimes a drawing isn't needed, so it just really depends on a case-by-case basis. So what I'm going to do, I'll give you a little brief example of both scenarios. We're just going to throw a few parts in here on the estimating side, and we'll jump over to the drawing, and I'll show you how that all ties in on that part. So to start with the estimating portion here, you're going to have your database here that you can pull from. On the right is all your rooms and all your systems you set up. So let's start by finding that part we looked at earlier. Let's just do a quick search here. So once I find it, I'm going to place this into rack 1, and I'm just going to go ahead and drag and drop it into my project. Now as I do that, it's asking me if I want to include some programming labor and also event panel. So we'll say sure, let's go ahead and do that. Also, it's going to ask me if I want to show that alternative product in here, and I don't really care to do that in this scenario, so I'm going to skip that. So now I've got all three items here in my project, and we can see it's all in rack 1, and there's our price with labor included. So now let's go grab a few other things. Now, what I really like about our search is you don't have to know the exact part number. You can just say, you know what, I want a speaker. And you could type in the word ceiling, wall, type in a brand name, and it's only going to show you the stuff that you've downloaded into your database. So I'm going to go select the speaker. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this actually in a couple different rooms. So the good thing about the multiple room selection is this allows me to put things like keypads, sensors, speakers, touch panels, whatever it is you're working with, you can distribute those across as many locations as you want at one time. So let's go ahead and drag and drop that in. Now, as I do that, it's also prompting me for some additional things. So do I want to include a ceiling bracket for the speaker? Do I want to drop a 16.2 cable in there with each speaker? And we'll go ahead and do that for both. And since we're dealing with cabling, we can also adjust what our wire length is going to be for all those runs of cable. So I'm going to go ahead and bump it up from 100 feet to 150 feet. And for anyone that's outside the U.S., if you're on the metric system, of course, this would all be adapted in meters for you. You can also set other details too, like the head-in, where it's sourcing from. We'll say rack 1. And if you want to get detailed, you can even set connector types on ends of your cables. And this actually will keep counts of those and track it in the system. Go ahead and hit assign there. So just like that, let me just move this out of the way for a moment. You can see a breakdown or distribution of everything now. We added all those speakers, all those runs of cable, all the brackets have all been added here into the project. Now what's also nice too is if you've got any pre-built packages or assemblies, this really makes things go even faster. I'm going to go add in let's just go add a package into the conference room. So packages, as I mentioned, are your pre-built systems. If I just want to go scrap something simple like a plate, I just simply drag and drop it in. And just like that, you see all the components of that plate have come in here. So didn't have to build it from scratch. And also too, nice thing is I don't have to overwhelm my client with all these little nuts and bolt details. They won't necessarily have to see all that. They can just see the package name and price if you want them to. So that's pretty much how you get your parts list built here inside the D-Tool system. Let's go take a look at some of the documents and reports we can get from this here, and then we'll go over to the drawing side next and show you what that looks like. So under reports is where you're going to see all your documents. We've got client reports, installation reports, and management reports. So under client reports, you can actually choose from various templates that we have here, and within each template you can also choose to show how it's grouped or organized. I can do it by room, I can do it by system, I could do it by phase. I'm going to show you a combined report that I've got that actually has several different documents combined together, and this is more of a proposal package, if you will. This is going to have the cover sheet, introduction, scope of work, and I'll kind of run through here with you to show you what this looks like. So we can go through this now. We can see here's our cover sheet, and you can always change the graphics in here. The colors and stuff can be adapted. The image on the front could be a picture of a customer's building, logo, or their home, depending on whether you're doing commercial or residential. You've got your introduction here, so it tells them a little bit about your company. So this is an optional thing you can insert in. Tells them about our background and services there. We've got our scope of work. This is the scope we put in earlier, and you can also insert graphics in there too if you want. Skip down through that. Let's jump down here into our project. So this one I'm doing it by room, and it's also being organized by system. And you can see I can show pictures of items if I want to. We also allow you to hide different levels of detail. So if I don't want to show model numbers, if I don't want to show brand names, or if I don't want to show line item pricing, I can easily turn that stuff on and off. And I can even hide all pricing in the list here if I want to. Once again, all the graphics can be customized. You got your summary here as well too, which shows your equipment, labor, tax, and grand total. And once I go beyond that, it rolls into my contract. So I've got my terms and conditions, got my payment schedule broken out, and at the very bottom, I've got my place to sign. So this is just one example of many things you can do on the reporting side. The good news is we have our own built-in report designer inside the D-Tools program, so you can simply modify any templates you want, customize them, put new fields on there, so it's pretty wide open from a modification standpoint. Installation-wise, I'm going to come back to those in a moment. That's going to be your wire checklist and wire labels. I'm going to show you what that looks like when you get to the drawing side. Manager reports are going to be all your internal documents, so taking a look at your cost and profit breakdowns, your equipment list. If you just want to take a look at, just a real simple one-page document called a project summary, this just gives you the quick need to know stuff here. So we've got our equipment breakdown, we've got our labor time, labor estimate, and down below is our overall profitability on the project. So if you don't like what you see, you can always go back and make some quick adjustments here based off that. So that's a little bit on the estimating side of things. What we're going to do now, let's go take it to the drawing side. Let's show you how we can easily produce drawings from this, and also how the drawings are linked in with our reports. So we can close that out. Now for drawing purposes, we can work with both Visio and AutoCAD. It doesn't matter which one you use. This really just comes down to personal preference. For today's webinar, we don't have time to really go through in detail both drawing tools, so I'm going to focus on Visio today. But if anyone wants to see the AutoCAD integration, we can certainly cover that. I'll cover that here at the end of the webinar if we want. So let's go jump into Visio here. So first thing, when you're starting a drawing, you choose your paper size or template size. So I'm going to grab one here. And everything we do, so if we're working with Visio, we're working inside of Visio. So this is an actual Visio file. It's a VSD or VSDX file. So if you're using Visio now, it's just going to be enhancing what you've been used to using. Same thing with AutoCAD. It's a direct CAD file. Everything's a DWG format. Now when you start a drawing in here, it's going to bring over all your company information, so your logo, company name and address, even the project name and client name, that gets populated here on the pages. And within the drawing tools, we have the ability to do 4 styles of drawings. So we've got a line diagram, which is a real simple conceptual drawing. We can do an elevation, which is a rack or a front or side view of a system. We can do a plan view, which is your floor plan. You can drop a PDF or CAD file in here. Or you can also do a schematic, which is more of a detailed input-output wiring diagram. So I'm just going to kind of go from left to right. Doesn't matter which drawing page you start with, it'll work the same. So let's go over here. I'm going to bring up this window. So this is my project editor. And just so you can see what's going on, I'm going to split the screen here. So what I'm looking at is I got my Visio drawing page here. And then on the left, I've got my project that we built earlier. So these open up as 2 separate windows. You can dock them on separate screens if you want to, or you can split it like I'm doing here. So to make a drawing, all you have to do is simply click on the items you want to put on the drawing page. So I'm going to select the amplifier, the speaker, and this cable, and I'm just going to drag it right from the list right to the drawing page. And so what this does, this allows me to bring up my products. I can make a real simple connection, and this is what we call a line diagram or signal flow drawing. So just pulls the pictures. You can even hide the model numbers and show the room names and stuff on there too if you want. So that's got what we call line layout. Let's go do an elevation drawing. So an elevation drawing is a front or side view, so it's great for things like rack builds. Now we didn't actually put a rack into our project yet, so let me show you and demonstrate how I can add something to a drawing and to my bill of materials or my quote at the same time. So how you do that is you just simply select the item where you want the items to go. So just like we did earlier, we select our rooms. We come over here to the left. We go find the product we want to add in there. And so we just simply click on the item, and just like we did before, we drag and dropped it into the grid. On this example, we're just going to go straight to the drawing page instead. And based off that, you see the 2 racks have landed on the drawing page. You may have also seen too at the same time those racks have also landed in my project. So now the project price has gone up because of the equipment, labor, and tax for this item. Let's go grab a couple parts here, and let's go ahead and drag it into the rack. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up just so you can see a little better. So I'm going to take my items, place them where I want them to go, and I can actually make sure everything fits properly. So gives you the peace of mind of knowing that when we go and order all this, when we go to assemble it, we're not going to have any issues. We can make sure it's all going to fit properly there. So there's your rack build there. You can also do plan views, and as I mentioned, you can also do not only CAD file inserts in here, but you can also do PDF. We've actually built our own PDF conversion tool for Visio. What it does, it actually takes the PDF and actually scales it, and also brings back the layers too, so you can turn the layers on and off on it just like a CAD file. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this in here. I'm going to zoom in on one of the rooms here, and I'm just going to go grab a few parts. So let's go down here. Let's find our Office 1. We'll select our speaker cable, drag and drop. So just like that, this now brings out our items here on the page. I'll flip this around and connect it up. And this has everything I need to know about the connection. So I can see the device. I can see the ID of the device. On the actual wire itself, the wire number was created, tells me where it's going to on the other end. It even has a wire label in the background we can print off. And you can even too have the wires color coded. So if I want, audio is blue, data is purple, I can set my preferences up and this will automatically color those things for you too. So it's all about saving time and, eliminating the need to do a lot of manual work on every item here. So we have all the industry standard shapes and symbols for AV, the J standard stencil set. We also have the SIA approved stencil set for security, surveillance, access control, as well as we have the NFPA stencil sets for all your fire, life safety as well. So that's there. And lastly is our schematic view. Now schematic is a little bit more detailed. That's getting into how the system is wired and connected up. Let's go over here and drag a few parts out for this. I'll show what that looks like. Once again, we'll just go grab a couple of the same items here, place them on the page. So what this will do, this will now bring out our items here with the inputs and outputs displayed. So I'm going to go click on my cable. I'm going to snap it up to my speaker. And I'm going to grab the other end here and connect it up to my output. So based off that, we can see how the system is connected. It's very clear. We know the devices, the inputs and outputs, the locations and things are on the devices. And what's also nice too is based off of this drawing, I can also right click and remove any IOs I'm not using. So that cleans up the drawing quite a bit, also saves a lot of space as well too on the drawing page. And not only did this help with building this wiring diagram, it's also creating a wire checklist for our install team. So if I want to jump back over here and take a look at a wire report, let's go pull this one up. You're going to see that audio 1 connection that we just made is now going to be displayed in checklist format for our install team. So we can see exactly what it's connected to on both ends as well as the IOs as well. So that's how you produce drawings here with our Visio integration. It's really just drag and drop. We have all the shapes and symbols in there to make that easier. All the numbering's done for you. The other big thing to know about this is when you make a change, it changes everywhere. So if I go and change this product out here on the drawing page, it's going to update my rack drawing, my floor plan, my line drawing, updates my equipment list, really every report I have, proposal, parts list, purchase orders, everything's all tied together. So I don't have to go change it in 5 or 6 places. I only have to do it in one place, one single time. So a lot of peace of mind, a lot of time savings as well too, based off that. So that's our Visio integration. We do the same thing with AutoCAD as well too. It's all drag and drop. We do 4 different drawing types just like we do in Visio, just a different drawing platform as well. So let's go ahead and save what we've done here. Let's go ahead and close that out. Now within DTools you have a place where you manage all of your projects, and so when you click on any project you can see any files related to the project here. We can see there's the drawing file we just created. Now there's other file types you can store in here, so things like programming files, job site photos, signed contracts, you can all store them in folders here. So everything project related is in one spot. We can also track revisions. So as you go and make these revisions to projects, as things get updated or clients make requests, we can keep a history of all those different changes, and we can also easily issue change orders as well. Always a huge pain for most people, and this really streamlines that by just simply clicking it, changing it, and then it'll document what's been added, what's been removed, so someone can sign off on it. We also too can manage the installation through task as well as service orders. So let's go jump into one of these here and create it. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a task. I'm going to call it install speakers. And you can kind of just go through the list here. We're going to go to notes. I'm going to drop in a couple notes that we put in there earlier, the building code, Wi-Fi password. So our tech has that. We're going to go in here to our items, and this will allow me to pick all the products from this project we just generated and assign it to be installed. Now the good thing about this is if you got a large list, you can use the filter. So I can say, you know what, let's just do rack 1, or perhaps maybe I want to go and just do the rough-in or pre-wire of the project. So you can pull just that stuff out. Also too, I can just say, you know what, let's just do speakers. So I'm going to go select all the speakers and accessories, add them in there. And based off that, I can see it's going to take approximately 15 hours for the installation. So we're going to go with that. And then we're going to now pick our resources. Now this could be one person, this could be many people. So you can go in there and select everybody that you want. Simply apply the hours to their schedule. And before I send this out, I may want to change the date. So right now it's set to start today. I'm going to go ahead and move it out to the 22nd. I'm going to have it tell me what my end time should be. All right, perfect. So now we go ahead and publish this out. And as it goes out the door, we can also attach copies of drawings if we want to, or any other documents. And this will send an email notification directly to that person that I've assigned this job to. And so I can go and manage it from my mobile device. So now what we're going to do, let's go in here and let's go open up a browser window so you can see what that looks like. Let's go open it up. Okay, so here is our mobile tool. And so with this, I can see at first glance my dashboard. So I can see a quick look at where everything is at within my project progress-wise. I can always click into any of these little bubbles here or spots, and this will take me right to them. We also have a calendar here as well. So with the calendar, I can actually view and manage my schedule. If I'm a manager, I can also view other people's schedules as well too. Let's go jump into the one that we just started here today, or we scheduled out for next week. So this gives me everything I need to know about the job, location, and contact. So I've got my contact. I also have the address. I can also use Google Maps and directions as well too. And to track our time, we can actually use our timer here as well. So you can either punch in your hours manually, or you can use the built-in timer. We go in here to items. This shows me all the items here that need to be installed. So before we install it, we need to actually take these items and load them up. So we can also go through the list here, and I'll just go ahead and select them all. We can mark items as picked. So we know these items have been loaded up or that the technician's taken possession of them. Then once we get out on site, we can also filter out this list by location. So maybe I want to start with just the front entrance. I can go through here and I can go ahead and mark these items here as installed. So once again, mark it as installed. Puts a date stamp on it. Also too, things like serial number, IP address, and notes can also be logged. The good thing is all this information that gets entered from the site actually updates the project back in the D-Tools software. So I could open up the project and at any point see what's been done, when it was done, and where our progress is at. We can also add site items too. So if there's any additional product or labor that we want to document, we can do that here. And if we add any additional product or labor, it also takes us down to the approve option. So especially if it's something that the client's requesting additional, you can have them electronically sign off on it. And this will keep a copy of the electronic signature and approval with the job. And this also too can be sent later on with a copy of a bill or invoice as well. We can also take photos from the site and store those. You can also keep some notes, history, and trail inside the system. And once we're done, we're just going to say, all right, we finished entry. There we go. Use my spell check to fix that and hit add. So what that does, it actually logs it into a little timesheet area. And all this information does feed back to the software as well. So not only is it here on the mobile side, but I can go back to the program, go to scheduling, and look at my resource hours. So within this, I can actually see, okay, what's Jeff done this last year, or do I want to see what Jeff's done this last month, last week? This allows me to see things across all jobs. And I could even see all my resources here if I want to. And so it shows your actual versus estimated time, actual versus estimated in dollars or currency. And then if you click on anyone's name, you can also see every work order and service order they did here in one place. And if I want to go look at the details, I can go look at the details, but everything's here in one central dashboard or location. We can also look at this by project. So if I just want to see how we did on a project, actual versus estimated, we can go look at that performance. So we can also, once again, see everyone that's been involved with that project there. Also from a scheduling standpoint, all your scheduling can be sent out through D-Tools. We do also have a built-in calendaring system, so you can see anyone's schedules that you want here. You can do the standard, day, week, month views, as well as we also have a timeline view that shows it over a period of time, very similar to a Gantt chart in the way it's set up. So all the tools are here to schedule out your installations. We even have a separate area just for doing service tickets or service orders. So if someone calls up, needs something fixed or replaced, we can schedule out those service requests and manage those out in the field as well too. So one last thing I want to show you before we wrap up today, I want to show you our dashboard feature. This is actually a new feature we just launched here in the last couple months. This allows me to take a look at my data and my reports across all projects in one central location. So I could look at my sales pipeline here, as you can see some different options. I can look at profitability. Maybe I want to see, which salesperson on my team is the most profitable. I can see that information. I can also look at our product usage. So right now I'm looking at what equipment am I using the most across all my projects. So you can set whatever date ranges you want. You can see it in different formats here. If you just want the standard table as well too, you can see that. So this kind of breaks down everything here for you to give you some really good data and analytics on where our time, money, and products, where everything's being utilized and where are the weak spots and stuff. So we can see all that here with our graphical interface. So we've got some dashboards we've started you with, but this is just the beginning. You can always come into the settings and actually create a new one and really see any kind of data you want that we track here inside the program. So that's really the last thing I wanted to show you today in the general overview of the software. So what I'll do now, I'll go ahead and open this up to see if anyone has any questions. And if there's anybody that wants to see anything that we didn't cover today, please let me know. Some of the